Hi, I'm Paul Seal from codeshare.co.uk. Welcome to this fourth episode in this series where I'll show you how to build a website with Umbraco 13. And in this episode, we're going to have a look at document types or content types, as they're known as. And basically, what I want to do is just go through the document types. We're going to build a content page, a home page, a search page, and the site settings. I'm going to use data types to add properties to these content types, so they'll be used for search engine optimization. We'll learn about the special property called Umbraco Navihide. We'll create the tagging data type, which is the what we use to do tags on an article, such as, let's just go into here to give you a good example for this. So where we have a content item here, we can tag this to say that it's about Umbraco and it's about C#, things like that. So we'll have a look at that. Then we'll also look at the new thing called dynamic route, which is a replacement for XPath. I'll go through what compositions are, what components are, and also get set up with Modelsbuilder as well. So let's get into this then and make a start about content types in Umbraco 13. So if we log into our back office and go to settings, we have a look. We've already got a home page, and that home page is just in the document types folder. So if I just for reference have the other site up, let's go into this home page. Now, when we created this, we didn't really look into what a document type was. We didn't really care too much about it. So with that, we didn't really pay too much attention, and so I would like to go back over what it is. So in Umbraco, a document type is something which is the very foundation of what a content management site is. It's the thing that holds the properties, and it's the thing that binds the content from that you've added to the properties to the model, which that gets passed to the view, which gets loaded in on the page. And on the last episode, we looked at templates and how we render that. But it's done in such a great way that it feels too easy. Like all I had to do here when I was doing that demonstration on the first or second episode, where we just did the title, the color 1, color 2. We just literally created a document type that came with a template by doing document type with template. We gave it a name, and then we just added some properties. And by enabling at the root, we were able to create it here and then just fill in those properties and then save and publish. And now, because we chose to render them out on the view, that's actually it's just magically saved it in the database. It's also got a layer of caching there to make it quick to recall that information whenever anyone visits the site, so it doesn't hit the database every time the page loads. And I just think it's just such a clever thing that we probably take for granted, but the way it all binds together is just so good. So I just want you to appreciate that really everything hinges around document types within a content management system, in my view anyway. So I had the pleasure of working with Mark Goodson when I worked at Moriama, and he taught me a lot about Umbraco, a lot about how to build a good Umbraco site for other developers to be able to use and work with a pattern or a convention. And yeah, he did a talk with Lee Kelleher about the way to build it in an atomic way. I won't try and go into that, but I'll just give you the patterns that I've picked up from from Mark and Lee, and that I've decided to change maybe to go in my direction. But yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to Mark. So what we'd like to do here is we like to organize our document types. So I'm going to create some folders. So first of all, I'm going to create one called pages, and then I'm going to create another one called components. So pages will be for like home page, search page, content page, and then components, that will be for other things that don't actually have a template. So if we have a look at that, because we're doing tagging, we've got a page tags folder, we've got an individual page tag, and we've got a site settings. And this home page here, we can actually move that. So let's click on move. So if I go back, I'll right click on that and then do move, or I click on the dots and then do move. And then I choose to put it inside pages. So now if I press OK, we see the tree view here. Just by clicking on this arrow, we can expand or not. And on that tree view, it is showing the home page in there. So that's great. If we have a look at this, this is the icon. This icon is represented in the tree. So when we have a look at it here, you can see, oh, it's a home page. So this is the name of the page. So whenever I save it here, this is the name. So that is always the name of it. So you don't necessarily know the document type from just looking, but because you've got the icon, that can really help. You can also change the color of icons as well. So you can search for a different icon. You can change the color of it, but I think let's pick this blue for now and then do save. It's always really good to add a description as well when you're creating document types. Add a description for the actual document type itself. So this is the main home page for the website. It's just nice that when you come to create a page, create a document type, you see you've got that little bit of an extra description. It's helpful for the end user. So it's not much work to do, but it's really helpful. Next, let's have a look at what we've got here available on this screen. So we created this content tab and it had these properties on it. But these properties are pretty much redundant for us now because we don't need them. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to safely, I don't like editing a document type or editing a document type when there's content of that document type, especially deleting content, because I always worry that it's going to break. So what I like to do, if I can, is just delete these. I'm not sure how to, let's just do that. Yeah, nothing there, and then delete that. So I'm just going to save this data so it's empty, hopefully. And I could actually delete the page just so that I'm sure that it's not going to break anything. So I've deleted that home page. So now when I go in here and I create the new home page, I don't have to worry that that it's not going to ruin anything that I already had. So I've deleted that because if we remember at this moment, we didn't really do anything special with the home page. We just had it to tie it to a template. And this template is just rendering out several different partials that all have static HTML on them anyway. So let's delete these properties. We will keep the tab called content because it's a nice one. It's the main content one. So this is where I'm going to put a property here for header content. And this is going to be, so enter the content to display in the header. Now, sometimes people have a title property and an image property. We're using the block grid with the preview later in this series. So what I wanted to do is just have a block grid property data type here, property editor of the data type of a block grid. But for now, what we'll do is we'll just do it as a label, which is a string, and we'll just leave it as it is, and we'll just do submit. So we're going to come back to this in a future episode for rendering out the header content. So I'm just going to hit save on that. And then I'm going to do the same for main content. And I like to separate the header from the main content because otherwise it just adds complication. Like, oh, you must make sure that the one that's at the top is the header, add that to the top of your main content list. Well, why not just have two properties, one for header content and one for main content? So just add a description, enter the content to display on the page between the header and the footer. And then if we just do a label string again, there we go, submit that. So we're going to come back, revisit those later, but we're just setting the scene. Now, one thing that I have done here is I've created these properties directly on the home page. And that's not really useful because when I come to create a content page as my next one, so I'll do document type with template, content page, and I choose that same color. If I save and publish that, and I want to put those properties on that as well, because actually a header and main content is useful on that. Well, have I got to go and recreate those now? And it just feels like it's extra work for no good reason. So what we do instead, rather than adding it directly to this, we create what's called a composition. And so then our pages can be made up of compositions. So we compose a page from, we want a main content one, we want an SEO one, we want one for page settings with visibility for like the Umbraco Navi Hide that we're going to talk about. So things like that are really useful to make them reusable among different page content types. Rather than adding it directly to the template, we create a composition. So let's do that now. So we do a new folder, compositions, and that's where these will live. So I've got some compositions on this one over here. So before we do anything with it, I'll just want to delete the content that is on the home page and then do save. So all we have is the content type and then the description and the icon and the color. And let's just add a description. So this is the main page type for this website. You will build your content using the block grid. Whatever you want to put in there, whatever message, it's up to you. Just press save. So we have our content page and our home page. And before we do add the compositions, let's just add a search page as well, just so we can complete this. But I really do want to make the point about compositions after this. So search page, and we can do a search icon. I will show you in the tips and tricks episode how to customize these icons. So it's not just this default list. You can actually have other SVGs. But for now, we won't do that. So this is the search page for the site. I mean, it's pretty obvious, but again, it's just a nice little description so that when someone, this item's in the recycle bin, yeah, that's fine. It's in the recycle bin. It just, when I clicked on content, it went back to the node ID that I was editing last time I was in content, and that's why it showed that. So there's no need to panic there. That's a good point. It shows us the recycle bin. So what we can do, if you've ever accidentally deleted something, you can go on here and do restore, and then that will bring it back into the content tree. And sometimes you might have clients where they say, the website's broken. And you're like, well, it was working a minute ago. And then you have a look in the recycle bin and you see that they've deleted the homepage or a really important page. So yeah, it's worth knowing about the recycle bin. You can actually empty the recycle bin. So I'm going to do that this time. Empty recycle bin just by clicking on the three dots. So there we go. We've got no content whatsoever on this site at the moment. So let's go back to talking about compositions. So as I say, compositions is a way for you to add properties to a document type, and then you can compose these pages with those compositions. So you build it up. So it's going to have a tab with content on. It's going to have a tab with SEO on. So let's do that then. So let's create one for the content properties. So I'm going to go into this menu here, create, or I can right click and create. And then I'm going to have a look down the list. So we've got 5 options here. And as I mentioned Mark Goodson before, Mark had a big hand to play in this menu here. He did create a package which gave you this menu, but then it got put into the core. Something to bear in mind when you do start working on Umbraco 14 and above, as it's had a bit of a rewrite, the options might not be the same, but you can still achieve the same thing, but it just might be a more limited list of things. So anyway, we've got a document type with a template. So that by default will just create a document type, and it will also create a matching template name as well. It will create the file, and it will set the template on that document type to be that template, which is that one. Next, we have just the document type. So this is the one where it creates a document type, but it doesn't create a template. And this is one that probably used as a component. So maybe it's a repository of items or something like that. So that's what we use this for. Then the element type. So we use this for repeating set of properties. So we'll definitely use this when it comes to a block list or block grid property editor, as it says in the description. And here, this is a composition, a reusable set of properties that can be included in others. For example, a set of common page settings. Really, a composition is pretty much the same as an element type. I think, I might be wrong, but I think they both get set with the is element type ticked. Let's just double check. So I'm going to click on element type and then go to permissions. You see that is element type. Now I'm going to do it again, create, and then do composition. Permissions is element type. Yeah, so they both are created as is element type. Don't think there's too much difference. Let's just have a look between an element type and a composition, but it's more about the purpose of what you're creating here. So I would say when I'm creating this, I'll choose composition, and it automatically assigns this icon, this frag icon. It automatically assigns that. And from Mark, I picked up the idea to use the pink frag icon for these compositions. So that's what I do in my videos. So I'm just going to do content properties, and I'm not going to put a description on this because it's not used in the same way. So I don't think the description gets seen anywhere. And then on this, I'm going to have a tab called content. And then I'm going to have a property, and this is going to be called main content. And then, so this is the main content for the page, whatever we want to put in there. Or use this property to build up the content for the page. And as I said, we will use the block grid later, but for now we're going to do a label of string type. We'll click on submit. And something else that's important is to know about the reorder. Again, pick this up from Mark, and that is, it's good to order your tabs and your properties in a way that if you needed to come in later and add another one in, well, because you ordered it in such a way, you could add a new property to this and just with an order of, I don't know, 18 or something, and that will come in before that. And same with the tabs, you could have tab waiting. So the order of the tabs goes from left to right, and you could maybe you could put one in at 5, and that would come before content and things like that. So I'm done reordering. We'll save that. Now, we did a tab there, but you can also do groups. So groups, when they got added to Umbraco, they were controversial because they removed tabs altogether and everyone kicked up a fuss. And then eventually they brought tabs back, but they kept groups as well. And groups are quite good because you can have, I still like to use tabs, but within that tab you could have groups, and we will use that later on actually. So we'll come back to that. So that's everything on here. This is the bit where we pick the property editor. The property editor. So we have a lot of property editors we can pick from by default. So yeah, we've already seen the color picker, the eyedropper color picker. There's a content picker, so that's quite good. It allows you to choose a start node of where you want to pick content from. Now, obviously, this won't work because I've deleted all the content on the site. But the idea is you can pick a single piece of content, and that will be stored on this property. The ID of that content item, the GUID address, I can't remember what it's called, but that will get stored. We'll come. I won't go into every single one of these, but just have a look at them, have a play with them yourself, get to know them, what they can do, and know that you can build your own property editors as well for Umbraco. So let's close this. We're just having a string, and then we'll go on to the other ones as well. So we have got a footer content, so we'll do the footer properties as well. So just make sure that's saved. Compositions, create a new composition called footer properties, and then we'll give this the pink flag icon, and then we'll call this footer, and then we'll make sure that we do the reorder. So I've got mine set at 50, and then I'm done reordering. Create a property, so I'm just going to call this footer content, and again this is going to be block grid. So create the footer content using the block grid editor. But for now, we'll just create that as a label. It's more like a placeholder at the moment, just so that whilst we're going through this episode and we're doing the document types, we can actually just get everything scaffolded out. And then I'm going to do a reorder and make that 30 on the property itself. Save that. Then we've got the header properties. So again, same idea. Click on this, go to compositions, header properties, add a tab, content. So this is going in the content tab again. So we already had a content tab for the content properties. So when we do the reorder, we make sure that this is using the same order number of 10. We put a property called header content, and then we will say enter the content for the header. And then we can do another label that is a string. Submit that. We don't need to make it mandatory. So one of these things that you can do is you can make it mandatory. You can add custom validation. So perhaps it's a text box input and you want to make it validate as an email or a number or as a URL, or you can enter custom validation, which uses regular expressions and things like that. So we don't need to do that. We're just no validation on this. You can even make the label appear above the property editor as well. So rather than it being at the side of it, it can appear above it. But for now on this, let's keep it simple. So we'll do a reorder. So we'll just make sure we've got the right order as per the site that I've already built and that we're working towards. So we make sure that's 10 and 10. Save that. Change the icon color to pink. There we go. And then we've got main navigation properties. So again, pretty similar idea. We're just going to create this stub composition called main navigation properties. We'll add a tab called navigation. And then we'll add a property called main navigation. And enter the main navigation items for this website. And we'll build that navigation in a future episode using the block grid editor and with a WYSIWYG editing interface where you drag and drop and you can actually see the items in the order that you've created them. So we'll just do a label for now. Submit that. and then we'll do a reorder as well. So just use the same order that I've got on the example site that I already built. So we'll put that tab in at 30 and the property in at 5, and just save that. And then we've got SEO properties. We'd make sure that we do the correct color. Save that. So then, yeah, as I say, we've got one called SEO properties. So it's another composition, SEO properties. And we'll add a tab called SEO. We'll make sure that our icon is the pink. It stands out when you're picking them from the list as well, the pink does. We're going to add a property here called meta title. So for search engines, they like to pick up the meta title and the meta description. Enter the meta title for this page. And then if this is blank, the name will be used. There we go. So when we do the metadata, if the meta title is blank, we'll just use the name of the page. So if I just type in string, we'll do text string. Submit that, and then we've got meta description. And then enter the meta description for this page. And on the search page, this is the property that we render out in the middle of that. When you've got each search item, you've got the name, and then you've got this meta description, and then you've got the last updated date. And also when you do search on Google and things, that's the meta description that gets displayed with the title and the link and everything like that under it. So we'll make this a text area. Click on the common one. Now you could create your own custom one if you wanted to, but I don't want to create a custom configuration. I'm just happy to use the default configuration. So I'll click on that and then do submit. And then I've got two other properties. One is indexable, and the other one is followable. So we'll do is indexable. And we won't bind these to the templates or anything yet. We're just only creating the document types. So set this to true if you want robots to be able to index this page. And now we'll do a true. So we'll look at the toggle. We'll click on this one here because we want to create a new configuration, and the initial state we want it to be true. So we're going to create this called toggle. So use this square brackets convention that I picked up again, probably from Mark, and then we'll just do default true like that. And you can, if you want, to change the label when it's enabled and change the label when it's disabled. But we'll just leave it at that. Do submit. So now is indexable is using this one, and then we can just submit again. And then we can use that same one because we're going to do is followable. And then we're going to set this to true if you want robots to be able to follow this page. And then we'll do true. There we go. We'll use that one that we just created and then click on save. Now, if we have a look at reorder, we'll just make sure that we put the right order in as per what I already did on this site that I already built. Now, when I clicked on 5, that reordered it and it shot it straight down to the bottom. So just be aware of that, because that might get annoying, but I know that I need to have the next one as 10, and then the next one as 15, and then the next one as 20. And then if I tab again, that should be in the right order now. We've got a site settings. So let's do that as well. So create another composition, call it site settings, properties. and then we just want to click on that to change the color of it, and then we'll just add this as site settings, add the property. So when I originally built this site, I had this site settings with the site name on the actual home node. So I picked it from the home node, this composition, and I didn't really like it. So I created a whole site settings node. And that's what we're going to end up creating. So anyway, enter the name of the site. This will appear in the browser title and in the main top left logo for the site. Yeah, so this will basically be used up here. And it will also be in the browser title when you've got the page, and then it will be pipe, and then it will be the name of the site. Anyway, so I'll just make this a mandatory property. So do text string, and I will tick the box for mandatory because we need our site to have a name. And then we'll reorder that as well, just to make sure that it's going to be shown in the right place. And we'll put that as 5. There we go, 90 for the tab and 5 for that, and save that. Then we've got 2 more compositions to do. Create another composition, this one called tagging. I can't spell tonight. Properties. Change the color. And this one's going to have a tab called tagging, and it's going to be in a group called, oh, actually the tab is called page settings, and the group is called tagging. And then the property on that group is called page tags. And for now, because we don't have the other document types created and the content in the tree to be able to use this yet, we're just going to say choose the tags for this page, and we'll just make it the label again. And it's not mandatory. And we'll just get the reorder correct. So we'll do 60 for the tab. We'll do the group itself can be ordered, so that'll make that 10. And then we'll make the property 5 on that group. And then finally, of these compositions, let's create another one and call it visibility properties. Make it pink, and then add a tab, page settings. So this will, if you pick both the site settings and the tagging properties, it will join up. Not site settings. Which one was it? Yeah, the tagging and the visibility. So in here, we'll just actually create another group called page visibility. And then in there, we will add this property called Umbraco Navi hide. Set this to true if you want to hide this page from search results. And list pages. So yeah, we'll just do the normal true false. We won't default it to true. And then we'll save that, and then we'll do the reorder as well, just to complete this whole section. So we'll make that on this 60, same as the other page settings one, and we will do the page visibility to 20, and then we'll change this one to 5, and then save. And then what we'll do is we will finish reordering, and we'll just rename this property to hide. And what you'll notice is that this won't change. It will stay the same. Now, normally it's a no-no to have a different property name to the actual alias, because this automatically gets created, but I don't like the full name of Umbraco Navi Hide, but for that magic property to work, you actually have to leave that alias the same. So what is that property? Well, it basically adds like an is visible extension to your content item. And so when you do your list pages, you can do get all my pages that are children of this, and you can do dot where is visible and things like that. And so you can also exclude any in your search results. You can exclude where this is set to 1, so where it's turned on to say hide as well. So we'll just save that. So we've done our compositions. We've got our pages, but they don't have those compositions on them. So now it's time to pick those compositions. So if we go into compositions, and we can go, right, the content page needs content properties. It needs the header properties. It needs, what else does it need? The SEO properties, and it needs visibility and tagging. So we submit that and we'll find that actually the content page has got all of those. So that's good. And then the home page itself, that needs the same. So if we do compositions, we do content, header, SEO, and visibility. Save that. Now I've actually just got an error. I'm not sure why there's an error there. So I'm just going to just reload the page and check. I'll just have a look at compositions. I've got, oh yeah. Do I want tagging on the home page? Probably. So content, header, SEO, tagging, visibility. Let's just check that one. Did I have all of those? Content, header, SEO, tagging, visibility. Yeah. And then on the search page, we don't need as many, because on the search page, we're not really putting content. We're just literally just doing the search. So the composition for that is a lot lighter. So if we go to compositions, and then we'll just say SEO, tagging, and visibility. That will do. Now, when we created the homepage originally and we set permissions, we allowed it as root. That means that it can be created in the root of the content tree. But you'll notice that the content page can't be created in the root of the content tree. And if we try to create anything, all we get to create is the homepage. So what we can do is we can allow the others to be children of this. So let's just put home in. And then let's just go to the settings, just do home and then permissions. Then we can say allow child node types. Okay, well, let's allow pages, which are content page and search page, and then submit and save. So now if we go back, we can do, oh, okay, I can create a page under home now. I'll create a content page and I will call this about. Save and publish, and you can see we've got those properties. We've got the meta title, description, indexable, followable, and we've got the page settings with the page tags and the page visibility. But again, these are just empty labels. But that's okay. So we've created that home and about, and then we just want the search page now. So if we just put in that search, and we do have the meta description and title and things like that. So the search page, is there any point in that being indexable and followable? And is there any point in showing it in the list of search results? Probably not. So I'm just going to save and publish this. So we are done in that respect. Let's just see if when we go to the home page, it still renders correctly. Yeah, and it does. So we're done in terms of those. Now we do need to have a look at the components that we need to create as well. So there are 3 components that we want to create at this stage before we get into anything else. So one of those components is a site settings. So I'm just going to create a document type under components, call it site settings. And then on that one, I'm going to create this with a bit of a dull color and a settings cog, just so that it's different from the main content. And in this, I'm going to do a composition for the main navigation. I'm going to have the footer set on here as well, and I'm going to have the site settings properties. So if I save that, so this is going to have these properties defined on it. And in order to allow that, we also want to go to the permissions and allow site underneath the homepage permissions. We need to allow site settings as well. So go to components, site settings, submit and save. Because each homepage, because with Umbraco, you can have multiple websites within the same instance of Umbraco. So you could have a site settings, and I like to do it directly under the homepage. So that's why we've done it like that. So now if I click on this and I go to site settings, create that there, so and then call it site settings. And then in this tab, I can put Paul Seal or whatever site name I want it to be. In the navigation, it's a label at the moment because we've not done that episode yet, but we will come to that and we will create it. So now we've got our document type and the site's taking shape. You can also, in the Umbraco, you can right click or click on the three dots and do something else. And then you can sort. So what I want to do is just bring the site settings up to the top so that stays local to the home. And anytime I create new content, that always comes below rather than it get pushed down to the bottom or anything like that. So that's our site settings component. And then what else do we have? We've got a page tags and a page tag. So first of all, let's go back to this components and we'll do a page tag component. So again, a component is just a document type that doesn't have a template. And I'll call this page tags. And for this one, I will probably just have the multiple of this icon, so multiple tags. And this doesn't have any properties on it. It's just like a container. Mark would probably put this in a folder called folders or containers or collections, but I'm just leaving it within components just because it's a document type that doesn't have a template, basically. And then I will also need to create a page tag document type that doesn't have a template. And I'm going to choose the same tag icon, but this time in an orangey color. And on this page tag, I will have a tag alias, and we'll come back to how we set that later on down the line. But for now, we're just going to create it on here. So with these ones, you can, I quite like setting that property directly on it. I know we didn't with site settings, but that's because when I originally created it, I had those site settings on the home node, and I'm glad I did that because I was able to easily pick it onto the site settings document type instead. So for this here, I've just created a tab called content, and then I'm creating a property called tag alias. And then I'll just copy this and type it in. So this will be set when a tag is created. It's purposely not editable, so you can't change it as it will be used for querying. Again, we'll do that in the search episode. But for now, let's just leave this as a label, and it will just show up as empty for now. But you will see that later down the line come into use. So we have our page tags, our page tag, and we have our site settings. So with that, we can also go to our site settings node and then allow permission for the component of page tags to be a child of site settings. And then if we go to page tags, we can allow a page tag to be a child of page tags. Save that. So we've got all our correct allowed child node types. So then if we have a look, let's go into the content, into site settings, create a page tags node. Click on save. And then even though it says it's got a link, when you click through to that, it'll say page not found. And that's because there's no template. So it can't render anything out because there's no matching template for it, nothing set. And whilst we're on document types and we're talking about templates, I'll just go to this. So here we've looked at the permissions tab, allow at root, allow these. But I was talking about templates. You can see that we've got this allowed templates, so you can choose more templates. So maybe it would be a homepage red, I don't know, homepage red or homepage blue, and you could easily change the style and look and feel of the homepage just by choosing the different template. You could do that, but there's many ways to skin a cat. You might do that with a property or something like that, or just CSS itself, just make a change. But either way, that's how you do that, and you can set one to be a default template. So when you create a content item, it will by default always be have that template selected. Other things within here as well, we've got enable list view. So if we go to page tags, when we create some, I'll show you the list view, but for now we don't need it. There isn't actually, I won't do it in this episode, but there is a future episode in the tips and tricks where I do reusable content, and we use the list view on that. So we'll talk about that in there. Other things on the permissions that it's good to know when we're looking at document types is this allow vary by culture. So this, as it says, allows editors to create content of different languages. So by turning this on, it means that when you create this homepage, you can actually create other language versions of this. So within the Umbraco content tree, you'll just have the home node, but actually you'll have a language drop down to be able to change which language you want to edit the content for. So that's really powerful. So it just shows that Umbraco's got translation built in. Basically, it's all it's built with translations, multilingual from the ground up. And then we've got the history cleanup. So this was a relatively new feature that got added, I think, actually in about 8.17 or something like that. But yeah, it allows the overriding. It allows us to prevent the cleanup of pages, or if you want, you can set this to keep all versions newer than so many days. So with Umbraco, every time you do a save and publish, it creates a version of that. So you can roll back to that point in time of what that content was like at that time. So it's really powerful stuff for Umbraco. And so, but you don't want to always keep all these old versions. So this gives you a way to say keep all versions newer than 7 days. So anything that's newer than 7 days old, keep that, but delete the rest. Or keep the latest version per day for how many days? That one doesn't make sense. Keep latest version per day for 90 days. Okay, maybe each day has just got the latest version for the last 90 days. I'm not sure how that works or how I would need that. I'd probably just do this one. And I'd probably just set it for the last 6 months or something. Anyway, let's move on. So we've got our content tree, we've got our page tags. So let's just create a page tag underneath page tags, and we'll call this one, I've got it in here as block grid. So you can see we've got that in here, and then we'll just create another one as well, block list. So now that we've created this and we've got a couple of items in, we can go on and create our multi-node tree picker property editor, which we will use for the tagging property. So I will just get the reference on my other screen here for this. And when I'm creating property editors, what I like to do, sorry, not property editors, when I'm creating a new data type, I like to have a folder and I call it custom and then create. And then so anything that's out of the box Umbraco will be at the root of this. But anything that I create a custom, I move into this folder. So I'm moving the toggle one into there. And then any other ones that I create, I will put into here as well. So I'm going to create a new data type and I'm going to call this one MNTP, so short for multi-node tree picker. And then it will just be page tag picker. And so I'm going to create it as a multi-node tree picker. So just search for the word tree. I'm going to use a dynamic root query. So I'm going to look for content. I'm going to specify a dynamic root. I'm going to start from the current node. Then I'm going to go up to the nearest ancestor or self, which is of the type home. Then I'm going to go down to the nearest descendant or self, which is of the type component, which is page tags, and then submit that. So basically, this dynamic route, which is a replacement for what was called XPath, is going to say, okay, so I'm going to render out this multi-node tree picker. So I'm going to let you pick some content. Where do we start from? What content do I render? And I said, well, start from yourself. So whatever page this is being edited, so maybe we're editing the about page, it will start on the about page. It will go up the content tree to the first home node that it finds, and there should only be one there. So go all the way up, it will find the home node, and then it will say, right, now go down until you get to a node which is of the type page tags. So that's how we use that one. And then allow items to be picked. Well, we only want the component page tag to be picked. So I'll click on submit that. And is there a minimum number of items? No, there's not. Do we want to show the open button for these? Not really. It's not really beneficial to us. So we'll click on save. So now we have that property. We can go back to our tagging properties. If we go to our compositions and our tagging properties, you see this page tags property. We can change it from this. So we can change that and we'll just have a look for MNTP and we'll pick that instead. Submit and save. So now instead of it being a label property, it's actually the page tag picker. So when we go back to our content and we go to our about page and we go to page settings and page tags, click on add, you'll see that we've actually got the block grid available and the block list available just as tags. So that is showing you that in action. And that, let's just have a look. Think this was most of what we wanted to cover for these things on this episode. And the last thing we need to cover, so we've done dynamic route, tagging, Umbraco, Navihide, SEO. Yeah, we've done all of these compositions, components. So let's just have a look at how we've got the Modelsbuilder set up. So this is how we'll end this. So Modelsbuilder is, I will try my best to explain what Modelsbuilder is. Now, I don't work for Umbraco. These are just my opinions. This is just my experience, and I'm just making these videos about how I use Umbraco and how I think it would be good to explain to someone else coming into Umbraco. So Modelsbuilder is something that generates C# classes to represent these content types that we've created. So all of these document types here, it will create a C# class and it will create properties and methods on these classes to enable you to get the values from them in an easy way. And then when you're rendering them out on your views, your templates, it's really easy to do model.title or model.page tags and things like that. So that's what Modelsbuilder is. It generates this C# classes, and if you configure it in such a way, you won't have the issues like we were having on the homepage template, where it doesn't recognize when we were doing model dot something. I don't know, like that. It will be, I don't know what this is. And it complained. It was all the red lines, if you remember. So I'm just going to undo that anyway. So let's have a look to see how it's been configured for Modelsbuilder on this other example site that I created in the first place. So if we go into the app settings, and then we've got an app settings development. So app settings are just basically configuration, and it's used in the JSON format. And we can come into here and we can just add some configuration for Modelsbuilder. Now, one good thing about the Umbraco schema is that we've got this app settings schema for Umbraco CMS. So this gives us like a predictable thing. So all I have to do here is I can just start typing and it wants to finish it for me. So it's like, yep, okay, Models Builder. What do you want to set about Models Builder? Well, I want to set the models mode. Okay, what models mode do you want? There are 4 options. We've got in-memory auto, so that's what's on at the moment. But that one doesn't generate the C# models. So that one is good for if you're just building out your document types and everything like that, and you don't want to keep regenerating your models and you don't want to keep rebuilding your site, and that's good for that. Nothing is what you would use when you deploy this to the live site. You would do nothing on that because all of the models will be already deployed to the site, and you don't generate models on the fly when you've got a running live site. Then we've got source code auto. So this is where it generates the actual C# files for you, and it does it automatically whenever you make a change to the document type. That can get annoying, especially if you've got .NET Watch run, so that you've got hot reload on your site. So if you're making it so that whenever there's this file change, the site automatically reloads, that gets annoying when you change the document type and it creates new classes or it changes a class. So I like to use source code manual, and I like to put mine in the models directory, and I like to specify this and just say it's models. Oops. I put it in a models folder and then generated, just so it's clearly defined that actually anything in this folder have all been generated automatically. No one manually wrote these. So let's save that. Let's rebuild the solution and then let's run it again. Click on Start with Debugging, and then we'll go into here. We'll reload this. Well, first of all, we'll have a look in here. Do we have a models folder in the freelancer project? No, we don't. While we wait for the site, we'll just talk about this. So in the settings section, in order to get to the Models Builder dashboard, you need to click on this settings part here. So that's the section. Then you've got this settings tree menu title, I would say. Then over here, you've got Models Builder. So it's saying it's using this version of Models Builder. It's enabled. The models mode is source code manual, so you know that actually your configuration has been saved, it has been updated, and it does make sense, and it reads it as such. So strongly typed models will be generated on demand, and you will need to recompile, so you rebuild your code. The namespace is this. I don't like to change the namespace. It's just far easier just to leave it as whatever the default namespace is for that. And it's saying it's tracking out of date models. Now, at this point, let's just reload this. Did this. How do I reload that? I can't see how it reloads, but anyway, it would have been nice to see. We can actually have a look on the file system if we want. So I will open this folder in File Explorer just to see, did it create it? It looks like it's automatically created a generated folder, but the files aren't in there. So let's just generate models. And then let's have a look in here. And now all the models are in there. So if we just do build, rebuild solution, those files will have been included in the output for running this website. And it would also mean that where we were on the home page and we did model dot and it didn't know about it, if we do it now, var test equals model dot, now it will know that the home page model is indexable, is followable, and things like that, because it has those properties from that model. If we go into that model here, F12, we can see this is the generated model. So it talks about the fact that it's auto-generated, and it says, oh yeah, this is what I've got, and it's got all of these properties on it. It's got header content, it's followable, main content, main title, meta title. But if we have a look at this, what's interesting about this is it's a home page. It inherits from published content model, which is an Umbraco thing, and then it's got the interface of iContent properties. So you know how we made it use those compositions. When it uses those compositions, it basically inherits from them. So it's using interfaces here, which is great for when you want to say if this content item is this interface. So using the polymorphism from C# to say, is this able to be cast as this class, as this interface? Brilliant. Okay, then I will use those properties from that interface. So we can see that it's got the content properties, header properties, SEO properties, tagging properties, and visibility properties. That's on the home page. And if we looked at the search one, which had less, go to models generated and search page, we can see that that one just has SEO, tagging, and visibility. So then when we're on the view, if we did actually want to start filling it out, we could just do model dot, and then we could say is visible. No, oh yeah, that's the Umbraco Navi hide thing. Is followable. That was it. So var test equals is followable. Now we're not going to use that, it's pointless. But I just wanted to show you, now that we've got Modelsbuilder enabled, we've got it with the generated mode. We do need to remember to actually generate those models. You can turn it on auto, you can try different modes, it's up to you. But one thing we can do while we're at this point is just go into the partials and then the main navigation, and then where we've got this start bootstrap, we can actually render out the site name from that. So what we can do is we can have something that will get the site settings from the current model. So I'm going to create an extension method, because what I want to do is be able to, from whatever page I'm on, I need to get in the main navigation, but also when I'm rendering the navigation, I need to be able to get the site settings. So I can create an extension method for that. And it will be, if we go to the freelancer, we do add and we'll do new folder and we'll just call this extensions. Then if we do add a class inside that folder, we'll call this published content extensions. Publish content extensions and do add. And now in here, I just have one called get site settings, and I'll have one called get homepage. So actually what we'll do is we'll put one in called get homepage. So it's, first of all, with C#, I won't try and teach you C#. Hopefully you've got some knowledge of C#, but what we can do is we can have this thing called a static class, meaning that you don't need to create an instance of this. You can actually use the methods on this without creating a new publish content extensions object using that class. Anyway, we'll do public static class, and then we'll do public static home page get home page. So this is the method. So we're going to create two things here. One is get home page, and another one is public static site settings, get site settings. And these are going to be handy. And the only reason I'm doing this now is because we want to just show that we can use that property. So on a extension method, an extension method is something which adds an extra method to a class, like maybe the string class. You could add, you know how you've got toString, you could have toBob as a new method, and that will return the current string and do whatever, manipulate that string. Maybe you want that string to put the word Bob in the middle of that string. You can do that. It's pointless, but you could do that. So what we're doing here is we're saying get home page. So we're adding this as an extension method onto iPublished content. And then we'll call it publish content. And then what we'll say is return published content dot ancestor or self. So this is querying up the tree, like we did with dynamic root, to find the first home page. So it's saying, yeah, go and get that for me, please. So that's that one. And then we will create another method. Oh, we'll say it can actually be null as well. So that satisfies that. So we'll make site settings as well be nullable. Where's my method? Get site settings. Yep, we'll make site settings be nullable as well. We will use this iPublish content as well. So this can be called from any iPublish content, and you want to say, right, I want to get the site settings. So first of all, then let's do var homepage. And the reason I'm doing that is because that could be anywhere in the tree. Well, we already know, like we did with dynamic root, we want to get the home page first, and then from the home page we want to go down. So get home page equals, we can just call that method and then pass in that publish content. Then if the home page is null, we want to return null. But otherwise, return home page dot first child, because we know that it's not really like a descendant or anywhere in the tree. It's always going to be a child. But we're saying the first child, which is the type of site settings, like that. So now we have this method that we can call called get site settings. We'll just rebuild and run it again. But we will have that anywhere available on any of those when we have a published content item. So with Umbraco, when you are rendering out any of these templates, you'll find that you will be using the model by default, which is actually inheriting from our published content. So this is a published content model. And if we go into that, you can see that a published content model inherits from published content wrapped, which also inherits from iPublish content. So it goes down up the tree, up the inheritance tree to that. So that's why this will work on it. So if we go now back to the whole point of why we went into this, we can go into the header main navigation, and we can, at the top of the main navigation file, we can get the site settings, and we can say var site settings equals model.get site settings. And it might not know about this method. And I wonder if you can guess why it doesn't know about this method. If you've not guessed, it's because there's no using for it. So it's saying, well, I don't understand it. But if you do Control Dot on that, it will say using freelancer extensions. Okay, don't mind if I do. put that in there, and now that's available. My friend James stood up from Cynical Developer. He told me that he hates the fact that I put my my inherits at the top and my usings lower down. So sorry about that, James, but I'm still going to do it this way. Also, what I am going to do is I'm going to take this using out, and I'm going to, if you remember from the previous episode, we've got the view import, so I'm going to put it in there, and I'm going to just maybe put it at the top using freelancer extensions. So this will still be lit up because it's got that reference from the view imports file, which it also has access to. So it should be okay. So now we'll have this, and then we can say, actually, if the site settings is null, then I don't want to render this main navigation. So I just return. And then that allows us then to do an @ which is a razor thing to be able to render something out. So we'll do @ site settings.site name, like that. So if we just run that again, and then we go to the front end of the site, and we load the page, we'll see that actually instead of Start Bootstrap, it's got Paul Seal. And just to be sure that it's correct and it's working, we can change that to back to Start Bootstrap. Save and publish that. Go to the front end, and it's changed it back. So yeah, change that to whatever you want it to be. This was a very long episode. Sorry, not sorry, and all that. I think it was worthwhile just going into all of these things. These are core, fundamental things to understand about Umbraco. That is the end of learning in this episode. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, please click on like, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment to say where you're from, because I always love reading comments. Don't forget, we've got the GitHub repo here where there's a guest book. I'd love it if you could sign the guest book and let me know how you're getting on, things like that. Talk to other people in the guest book. And sometimes people say, "Oh, can I buy you a coffee or something?" Say thanks. It's not expected. You're never obliged to, but the link, if you did want to, is codeshare.co.uk/coffee. And I will see you on the next video, which will be episode number 5. Let's have a look. Let's just have a look, see what's coming up next. Oh, the block grid navigation and footer. I won't go into it too much, but yeah, this one will be another in-depth one, but we'll start getting to grips with the block grid editor and building that movable block grid editor that I think you'll like for the navigation. I won't show it you now, I'll show it you on the next episode. Thanks for watching. See you on the next episode. Bye.